It was late on a rainy Friday night when Daniel Brooks left the diner, tugging his jacket tighter against the cold wind. The sidewalks of the small town were nearly empty, except for the faint glow of neon signs flickering through the mist. As a single father, Daniel wasn't the type to be out this late, but he had picked up an extra shift at the auto shop and then grabbed some food to take home. His little daughter, Emily, would already be asleep, and the babysitter was probably waiting with her book open, yawning on the couch. As Daniel turned the corner toward the parking lot, he froze. Just near the bus stop, under the yellow street lamp, sat a woman in a sleek black dress, her head drooping, her long hair hiding most of her face. One heel was broken off, dangling from her hand, and her purse lay slumped beside her. She looked completely out of place, like she had come straight out of some high-class party and landed in the wrong part of town. Daniel hesitated, debating whether to approach. He had seen enough in his life to know when someone was in trouble. Finally, his conscience got the better of him. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked, stepping closer. The woman lifted her face, eyes glassy, mascara smudged. She tried to answer, but her words slurred. I can't get home." Her voice cracked with exhaustion. Daniel sighed. Clearly, she was drunk and stranded. He glanced around, but there were no cabs, no cars, nothing but rain slicking the pavement. He couldn't just leave her here. "Do you have someone I can call? A friend? Family?" She fumbled with her phone, but it slipped from her hands and clattered on the sidewalk. Daniel picked it up and saw a dead screen. No battery, no way of reaching anyone. She muttered again, something about not wanting anyone to know. In that moment, Daniel made a choice. "All right, let's get you somewhere safe," he said gently. He helped her to her feet, steadying her as she stumbled. She clung to his arm like she might fall at any second. Daniel wasn't a man used to bringing strangers home, but he also wasn't the kind of man to walk away from someone in need. He led her to his pickup truck, opened the passenger side, and carefully buckled her in. She smelled faintly of expensive perfume, though it was mixed with the sharp edge of whiskey. When they arrived at his small house on the edge of town, the babysitter blinked in surprise at the sight of him carrying a glamorous, half-conscious woman inside. "It's not what it looks like," Daniel muttered quickly. "She needed help. I couldn't just leave her." The babysitter nodded, gathered her things, and slipped out. Daniel set the woman on the couch, brought her a blanket, and placed a glass of water on the coffee table. His daughter stirred in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, who's that?" Daniel knelt beside her, brushing her hair back. "Just someone who needed a little help, sweetheart. Go back to bed, everything's fine." Emily trusted her father's words and padded back to her room. That night, Daniel sat in the armchair, watching over the stranger as she slept. He couldn't deny she was beautiful, even in her messy state. But what struck him more was the vulnerability in her face, the kind that suggested she wasn't just drunk, she was running from something. By morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, and the woman stirred. She sat up slowly, clutching the blanket around her shoulders, confusion filling her eyes. "Where am I?" "My place," Daniel answered calmly, pouring her coffee. "You were at the bus stop last night, barely standing. I figured it was safer to bring you here than leave you there." Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. You didn't." Daniel shook his head firmly. "No, you were safe the whole time. I don't take advantage of people who need help." Relief softened her features. She accepted the coffee, taking a careful sip. "Thank you, really. I don't even know your name." "Daniel," he said simply. "I'm Claire," she replied after a pause. Her voice carried a quiet dignity now, as though sobered by both the coffee and his kindness. Claire stayed for breakfast, chatting with Emily, who was instantly taken with her. She laughed when Emily showed her drawings and even tied back her hair with a ribbon. But when she left later that morning, she seemed oddly reluctant, like she wanted to say something more but didn't. Instead, she only gave Daniel a long look before slipping into the taxi he had called for her. Daniel thought that was the end of it. Just a strange, fleeting encounter. But he was wrong. 2 days later, at the auto shop, a black car pulled up. Out stepped Claire, transformed. She wore a tailored suit, her hair sleek and polished, her entire presence radiating power. Everyone at the shop fell silent, staring. Daniel nearly dropped his wrench. "Claire," he said in disbelief. She smiled faintly. "So you do remember me." "Hard to forget," he admitted, wiping his hands on a rag. "What are you doing here?" Her eyes studied him, soft but steady. "I came to find you." It turned out that Claire was no ordinary woman. She was the CEO of a major firm in the city, one of those names people whispered about in business circles. But what shocked Daniel most was her honesty. She told him that for months, she had been searching for something real in her life, tired of people treating her as a title instead of a person. That night, after another shallow party, she had wandered away, hoping to feel anonymous for once. Instead, she had broken down on a cold street corner, until Daniel showed up. "You didn't know who I was," Claire said, her voice trembling with sincerity. "You didn't ask for anything. You just helped me. No one does that for me anymore." Daniel wasn't sure what to say. He had never thought of himself as anyone's hero. He was just a man trying to raise his daughter and get through each day. But the way Claire looked at him made him realize his small act of kindness had meant far more than he imagined. Over the weeks that followed, Claire returned again and again. Sometimes she brought Emily little gifts, other times she simply sat with Daniel, talking late into the night about their lives. Slowly, a bond formed, not out of glamour or wealth, but out of shared humanity. Daniel showed her what it meant to live simply, to value honesty and love over appearances. And Claire reminded him that even broken people could find new beginnings. But it wasn't without challenges. Paparazzi eventually discovered Claire's visits to the small town. Headlines exploded with speculation about the mysterious single dad. Daniel worried about Emily's safety and told Claire he couldn't risk his daughter's peace for publicity. It led to arguments, nights where they both sat in silence, torn between worlds that didn't fit together. Then one evening, Emily fell ill. Claire was there, rushing alongside Daniel to the hospital, holding his hand as doctors treated the little girl. In that vulnerable moment, Daniel saw the truth. Claire wasn't just a CEO. She wasn't just someone passing through. She was someone who cared, deeply, fiercely, selflessly. And Emily, despite everything, adored her. When Emily recovered, Daniel finally allowed himself to speak the words he had been holding back. "Claire, you don't have to keep searching. Whatever it is you've been looking for, maybe it's here." Her eyes filled with tears, and she whispered back, "It always was. I just didn't know how to find you." Their kiss that night was not a fairy tale spark, but something more grounded, more real. It was two broken souls deciding to build something together. Months later, Claire announced a bold decision. She stepped down temporarily from her CEO position, handing control to her trusted board. She chose instead to split her time between the city and Daniel's small town, building a bridge between both worlds. It shocked everyone, but for Claire, it was the first time she chose love over image. The story of Daniel and Claire spread far and wide, not as gossip, but as inspiration. People admired the CEO who found her heart not in a boardroom, but in the home of a single dad who simply chose kindness one rainy night. And in the quiet of their small house, as Emily giggled between them and the sound of rain tapped the windows again, Daniel realized something. Sometimes the smallest act of humanity, helping a stranger in the dark, could change not just one life, but three. Because kindness, once given, always finds its way back.